Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to Yes Bank Limited March ending financial results conference call. We have with us today from the management, Mr. Prashant Kumar, MD and CEO, Mr. Anurag Adlakha, Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Ashish Agarwal, Global Head Wholesale Banking, Mr. Rajal Pental, Global Head Retail Banking, Mr. Neeraj Dhawan, Chief Risk Officer, and Mr. Niranjan Banekar, Head Financial and Investor Strategy. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on the touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Prashant Kumar from Yes Bank Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, and good evening to everybody. Hope you and your families are safe during the current times. And I really know, who are the people who are attending, but I think most of you have interacted earlier in my earlier role in State Bank of India. So I think that would be a great reconnect with all of you. So I think you must have seen our detailed presentation on our quarterly and annual performance. So I would not like to repeat those numbers. I would give more focus on what are the challenges before the bank and what is our strategies to overcome those challenges. I think from the presentation it's very, very clear that we have acknowledged that we are facing challenge in terms of there is a gap between the liability and on the asset side. We have reached on the capital CET as well as on CRAR. We are having a huge stress asset portfolio. So I think everybody would be interested in knowing what is our plan to going forward and meet those challenges and come out with a very, very strong bank. We have tried to give a roadmap in our presentation, but still I would like to give some clarity, some thought process, how we are like to do it. I think this bank has suffered earlier because of the governance issues. So I think first thing what we have done to take care of the governance issues and what we have done, you must have seen under the reconstruction plan of the bank, a very, very eminent board has been formed by the Government of India under consultation with Reserve Bank. So the people who are in the board, the chairman is Mr. Sunil Mehta, who was earlier chairman of Punjab National Bank, and he was also earlier on the board of State Bank of India. And similarly, we have other members who are very eminent and professional. Now coming to how we would like to fix. So under the guidance and supervision of the board, we have carried out the reorganization of the bank, and what we have fundamentally done. The credit underwriting has been segregated from the risk. So now we have a separate chief risk officer and a chief credit officer. Similarly, what we have done that we have created a separate stress asset group to give focus on the recovery and resolution on our stress asset. The third thing what we have done, we were having multiple products and the sales team on the corporate side. So everything has been converged under the head of the corporate. So these are some of the fundamental things what we have done on the restructuring of the organization. Now on the liability side, post-moratorium, I think it was quite expected that there would be outflow. and we have seen those outflows both on the corporate as well as on the retail franchise. But after 31st of March, the outflows have been more or less stabilized. And in fact, we are getting huge positive response from our retail customers. And during the month of, say, April 2020, we are able to raise almost 103,000 retail fixed deposits, which is more than any of the number of the FDs which were generated during the last 12 months, even during the very good times. Amount-wise, this is less, but the issue is that since we are moving from our dependence on the bulk deposit on the retail side on more granular, so I think yes, number is really more important. Our teams during the current difficult times at the ground level are constantly in touch with customers. My senior leadership team is also talking to the customers both on corporate as well as on the retail side. I am also talking to the retail customer on daily basis, and it's a very, very good feedback from the retail customers and corporate customers. People are very appreciative of the way our teams at the ground has taken care of their needs during the moratorium as well as during the current lockdown. And everybody is more than satisfied with the type of customer service provided by the bank even earlier and during the current times. So we are quite hopeful that with this type of customer confidence, with the type of support we got from Government of India, Reserve Bank of India, investors led by State Bank of India and seven other private sector banks, I think this confidence is coming, and gradually we will be able to build our liability portfolio to just have a better alignment in our balance sheet. At the same time, we continue to get the support from Reserve Bank of India in terms of funding, and that support would continue. So we don't see any issues out of it. The only thing is we need to build the liability portfolio on our own. The second thing, if you see on the asset side, apart from creating a very, very focused vertical for speedier recovery and resolution of this portfolio, we have also made 74% provision coverage, both on the loan side as well as on the investment side. So basically, attempt has been made to insulate the balance sheet from any, say, past event. So 74% is more or less in alignment with the LGD. And we believe, like going forward, we need to take care of the provisioning requirement more or less only for the fresh slippage. We believe like we need to, say, improve our capital ratios, and we don't believe like meeting just regulatory requirement would be enough. So we would like to go beyond that, and our target is that we should maintain at least CET1 of, say, 10%. We already got the approval to raise capital to the extent of 15,000 crores. We have already appointed merchant bankers, 6 merchant bankers, to take it forward. And on the basis of the advice from the merchant bankers, we will decide the mode in which we are going to raise capital. It could be a QIP, it could be a right issue, it could be SPO, it could be a combination of both those things. You must have also observed that despite the moratorium for almost 15 days, despite very, very difficult times during the last quarter, still the bank is able to generate a very small amount of operating profit. We continue to work on this to have a decent operating profit. And for that, one part about the control on the cost is very, very critical for us. So what we are trying to do that we are targeting a reduction of the cost to the extent of something around, say, 10% approximately. And you must have seen, like during the current year also, the cost increase has come down from 20% to something around, Niranjan, it was 7%. Yeah. So now we are targeting a reduction to the extent of 10%. And this would happen in terms of both cost on the staff side as well as cost on doing the operations. At this point of time, I would also like to draw your attention about the fact that we continue to be the market leader on the payment space, and this is mainly driven by our superior technology capabilities on the payment side. We are very, very happy to share with you that during the moratorium, very large customers who have moved away from us have come back in total. Because their feedback is that the way we were able to take care of their requirements, other even large private sector banks have not been able to do that. So we are seeing that those customers who are having the cash management product, who are having the integrate the systems on the payment side, they have come back. So I think that is a continuous journey. And going forward, the technology would be very critical for us, and what we are now trying to do, that apart from having our strength on the transaction side, we are also building our technology capabilities for the data analytics, for the artificial intelligence, the customer acquisition through data analytics, the acquisition of customer and the total loan life cycle management on digital. So I think going forward on the digital platform would not only say give us a lot of competitive advantage in terms of cost reduction, it would also help us in having a very, very focused marketing. And our data analytics team would be able to generate, they are in the process. We already have a large team working on this. So that we can have a very targeted approach for both liability as well as on the asset side. One very strategic shift which we are making in the bank, as of now we are almost like 55% on the corporate and 45% on the retail and on the MSME side. So gradually we would be moving like to the extent of 60% on the retail and MSME and 40% on the corporate. But one thing is very, very clear that in the immediate future, on the corporate side, the focus is asset light, more liability generation, more on the transaction. So our relationship with corporate would continue, but would depend more on the liability, transactions, and the cash management instead of on the asset side. So gradually it would come down, and going forward, I am not saying that we will be out of the corporate finance, but definitely yes, for the time being, we have taken a pause. And once the situation would improve, both internally and externally, then we would scale up our operations on the corporate asset side also. So I think I will stop here. These were the initial comments. I just thought I should give some thought process on the strategy for the bank going forward. And now I would be very, very happy to, and my team also here, to have your questions and would like to try to respond to those questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin with the question and answer session. Anyone wishing to ask a question, may please press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handset while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Akash Gastani from HDFC Securities. Please go ahead.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Good evening, and thank you for taking my question. My first question is, could you provide a breakup of the borrowings as on 31st March, please?
Okay. What is the second question?
And my second question is if you could sort of dive deeper into your strategy on the deposits front.
Can you please repeat your second question?
Yeah, if you could dive deeper into your strategy on the deposits front.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you see the details of borrowing as on 31st March, the total borrowing was almost like 1,13,000. Okay, out of it, the refinance was 23,700. It was a RBI window available to us to the extent of 50,000. And there was a overseas borrowing to the extent of 9,400. And there was a IBPC.
This is subject of about 18,500 crores.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And coming on the retail side, so basically what is happening, when you move on the retail side, your tasks become more difficult. But it is also more sustainable. So it is more on the customer connect, okay? And what we have observed, what is the feedback, I think our customer service is really very good and the people are happy, both on our digital capability as well as on the personalized customer service. So I think what we are doing, our bank was having a deposit base of almost 2 lakh crore as on 30th September 2019. So everybody who was having the deposit with us as on 30th September, as on 1st of April, we are targeting all those customers and we are calling them, our teams, even during the current time, where everybody is not able to attend office, but I think during the entire lockdown period, the customer calls, the customer connect, which have been made by our team, have been the highest. So it's a one-to-one connect at all levels, giving the comfort, assuring them the safety, sharing with them what are the developments which has happened in terms of new investors which has come up, the support which we are getting from government, RBI and other banks, and at the same time extending all those facilities. So it's a process which will take time. It cannot happen overnight. But definitely the COVID situation has made it more difficult. But still in the COVID situation, we are finding continuous inflows. And the data which I have given in terms of the number of retail term deposits which we have raised.
So lastly, would you be able to quantify the deposits as on 30th April?
Quantify
the deposit, the total deposits as on 30th April, please.
So 15th April, we don't have the data date-wise. I can give you say deposit figures, I think, which we have published on the 2nd May also.
Okay, so that would be as on which date? 2nd May?
2nd May.
Yeah, if you could please provide that figure.
So I think that is something around
3,000 crores.
It is there in the presentation, 3,000. Yeah.
Okay, that's it from my end. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Akriti Kakkat from Goldman Sachs. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. Hi, sir. So I just have two questions around the capital raise. The first is that what are the options for fundraising that we have? And the second one is that how relevant a rights issuance at a discounted price be, given the urgency of capital raise and the time needed to fix the financial ratios?
So actually issue on the option side, I think we are working on all the options. All the three options are available: QIP, right issue, and the FPO. QIP, I would be very happy because it happens very fast. Okay. So only thing is, as per SEBI formula, we cannot give more than 5% discount on the last 2 weeks average. So if we find investors who are willing to put money at this rate, we would be more than willing to do it very fast. But that situation seems difficult. So I think what we have done, we have applied for both fast-track right issue as well as fast-track FPO with SEBI. And if we get that, then it can happen very fast. Otherwise, in the normal route also we will do. And definitely if we go for, say, right issue or the FPO route, then depending on the advice and the investor interest, we will decide on the price.
All right. That was very clear. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Manish Karwa from Axis Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So my question is on the cost front. Look, our balance sheet now is almost 60% of the total of the historical balance sheet, and it's unlikely that this number will grow in the near term. But our cost base has still grown this year. Apparently, for us to do any profitable business, it's very clear that our operating expenses need to be at least 30-40% lower in absolute numbers from here on. How do you see that playing out? Because, a large part of your cost related to employees and branches would be fixed, and it may be a bit difficult. So I just wanted to, have your thoughts about what are you thinking on rationalizing the cost as such.
So Manish, like if you see this issue from a little different angle, the cost is one part, but the impact on the operating profit is also because we don't have that type of income. And most of the impact on the income side has happened because of the huge slippage. Okay, so now I think the slippage part, I can't comment on what will be the impact of the COVID on the slippage. But I think all the entire, say, slippage on the portfolio has been taken care. Okay, so that way the income generation would not be adversely impacted. But at the same time, like I was sharing, not 30%, but definitely we are targeting a reduction of cost to the extent of 10%. It will happen both on the, say, employee side as well as non-employee. So what we are doing, on the employee side, we are not going for any fresh hiring, and there is a normal attrition. So you must have seen like our number of employees are coming down. So we are not going to, say, go for hiring and increase the numbers. So numbers are coming down and that would happen. That is one part. Second thing that our leadership team has taken a voluntary call for cut in the compensation, and this cut is more in terms of converting from a fixed pay to a variable pay. That is one part. Second thing, there is a huge cost on the operation side. So we are moving on digital. That would save cost. We are also looking for all our premises. And the premises which are, say, not required in the current times, I think we are going to move from those premises to the, lower area as well as lower cost. So we are seeing the cost on the premises very actively. So I think basically these are some of the things where we would be able to achieve a cost reduction by at least 10%.
So this 10% you are saying would be on absolute cost, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thanks so much, Prashant.
Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Jay Mundra from B&K Securities. Please go ahead. Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Mundra, your voice is breaking up.
Hello? Yeah.
Mr. Mundra, we are not able to hear you.
Yeah, hi sir. The question is, you have a balance sheet, the loan book of 1.7 lakh trillion, a deposit of 1 lakh crore, and a borrowing of also 1 trillion. I just wanted to check, sir, how do you plan to sort of go ahead with this kind of a structure? Are there any assets which you think can be monetized in a fairly quick way? What is the thought process on this, sir?
So, Jay, how are you? I think good to see you.
Good, sir.
After some time. So basically, this issue we need to handle in two different ways. We need to ramp up our liability, and at the same time, we also need to see how we can reduce on the asset side. But there is a risk involved if we reduce on the asset side because it would impact your income generation capabilities. Okay. So our focus is more on increasing the liabilities. And I think if you see the liabilities as on 30th September was 2 lakh crore. If 2 lakh crore liability can come down to 1 lakh crore in 6 months, it can also go back to 2 lakh crore. It's not in 6 months, but definitely in 1 year. So I think our approach would not be just to downsell on the asset side, okay, because it would impact your income. We would like to see what we can do on the asset side, because that is something which is not income generating asset. So that can come down, and at the same time increasing the liability. We are also working on having more CASA deposits and also reducing the pricing or the interest which we pay on the deposits. I think we have already started moving in that direction. 1st May, there was a cut of 25 basis points on our fixed deposit from 7.25 to 7%. So I think that will continue to go on, and gradually our rate of interest on the market, deposit, would be almost in alignment with the market. But that would happen over a period of time. So it's a very, very, I would be saying, a calibrated way. There is no straightforward answer how the balance sheet will be managed, but we have to do in a very artistic way, where we continue to increase the deposit and reduce the assets which are not generating income for us or which are generating income which is on the lower side. So we are talking to, banks. I think all the banks are supporting us. They are looking for our portfolio. So we have a target. We would be able to downsell something. We would be able to have the IBPC for certain things so that it can come back to us. So it's a multi-pronged approach.
Sure, sir. Sure. And sir, just a continuation to this. So, just wanted to confirm, the bank would be making all payments which are, let us say, due on interbank purpose, interbank LC, BG, right? Do you see any challenge on that front, or that kind of a systemic problem has been completely taken care of?
That has been taken care of. You must have seen, since the day moratorium has been lifted, not for a single day, single transaction, single customer, there was any default, any deficit. Sure, sir. And sir, just two things also. In this press release, you have mentioned that the slippages came from IBU, International Business Unit, because probably the moratorium was not allowed there. Yeah. So I think the entities which are working in IBU, they are part of Indian corporate, right, which have some offices or some linking with the other domestic corporates. So how would you, what led to that slippages, right? Because these are not standalone entities. They have their, parents or sister concerns operating elsewhere. So how to read that, and is there any sort of sector concentration there? No, basically these were the assets which were in overseas location, okay? And there is no, connection between the domestic corporate and those entities. So whatever has been slipped is the exclusive overseas asset, okay? And since there is no, guidelines applicable for a overseas asset, so we have not extended the moratorium. Sure, sir. And last thing, sir, we have disclosed a lot of things in this presentation also. We have given the rating-wise breakup of this corporate book. If you have the rating-wise breakup of the advances, that would be most helpful. So what we are doing, we are you must have seen from our earlier practice, we are giving the SMA 1 and SMA 2 numbers. Correct. Yeah. Sure, sir. Okay. Rating has no meaning in the current time. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thanks so much. All the best.
Thank you. The question is from the line of MB Mahesh from Kotak Securities. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Just a couple of questions, sir. Could you just tell us what would be the expected loan book? And second, on the deposit side, if you could tell us what has been the kind of renewal that you are able to do of your existing customers who are there out there who are still not redeemed. What has been the response there? Thanks. The first question was a simple one. You see, you have a loan book. Just wanted to understand how much do you think you can reduce over the next 12 months based on the customer flows and whatever dues that has been contracted to be disbursed.
Right. And what is the second question?
Of your deposit book, if you could just give us some color of the existing customer base who have got their deposits on the retail and corporate side, what has been the kind of rollovers that you have been able to do on that particular customer book?
Sure. So basically, like giving answer to the simple question first. On the loan book side, what we are seeing on the corporate, there will be a reduction, say, to the extent of 7,000 to 8,000 crores. But we would like to grow at least 20% on the retail side. So our loan book is expected to grow in overall terms by almost 10%. Okay, and on the, say, deposit side, if we see the deposit as on 31st of March, or even if I can give you number on the 2nd of May, out of almost like 1,03,000 crores of deposit, it says 40,000 crores was corporate and almost 53,000 crores of the retail. So what is happening on the retail side, basically the corporate who wanted to withdraw have already withdrawn. So now what we are seeing that we are coming back to the old situation where the rollover is more than the 50%. So it's a normalized thing. Earlier the rollover has come down to 20% in the post-moratorium period. So that is stabilized.
Perfect. And my last question, you have now had more time to sit on the loan book. Are you making any more changes to your estimates on the NPL line as we speak? Either side, positively or negatively.
Again, I think this is not clear. I think there are some sounds. Can you please repeat, Mahesh?
Sir, the question is simple. Now that you have had more time to sit through the book, are you making any changes to your estimates on the expected slippages during the course of this year? Because it's an amount of 5 to 6% in one place and about 9% in the other. I just wanted to understand that.
Okay. So basically you are asking all difficult questions and saying they are simple. So Mahesh, basically if you say think in terms of slippage, I think we have given a guidance of something around 5%. And at that point of time, the COVID factor was not there. We have done some analysis, and analysis was based on, say, 2-3 scenarios. One scenario was like if the moratorium or this lockdown is lifted, say by April end, it has not happened. Second scenario was if the lockdown is, say, lifted at the May end, we need to see whether that happens or not. And the third scenario would be then if the lockdown is lifted, say, maybe June end or afterwards. So we are working for the second scenario where the lockdown may be lifted by, say, May end, and our slippage may go beyond, say, almost 7 to 8%. And I don't want to say guess for the third situation where the lockdown would not be lifted even beyond June. Then I think that would be very, very uncertain time. And I really don't know whether we will be there to answer that.
Just to follow up, which part of the loan book kind of moves so dramatically in this case? Because the SME book so far has not seen that stress. Retail is reasonably low on contribution. So is it the corporate side which is kind of moving the needle?
No, so when we are talking of the, say, slippage, we are basically seeing from the SMA 1 and SMA 2 side. That is one part. Second estimate is that what type of industries are impacted most because of the COVID. So what is our exposure in this? So there is no SMA 1 or 2 in those portfolios But since there is a likelihood of impact on those industry segments because of the COVID, that's why how we are estimating that there could be the slippage in the worst case scenario.
Perfect. That is very useful. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mahrukh Adajania from Elara. Please go ahead. Mahrukh, your line is on the talk mode. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
I am quite good.
Okay, sir. So I had just had a couple of questions. You said in your presentation, you talked about loans under moratorium, and you said that the overdue loans were 148 billion, of which the NPL classification freeze was on 27 billion on loans. So how does that 148 billion tie in with your SMA figures?
So basically what happened, if you see the regulatory guidelines, it was about if the RBI dispensation has not come, then what would be that book which would have slipped by 31st of March. So 27 billion is the number which would have slipped to NPA as on 31st March if the RBI dispensation has not come out of the other portfolio. That is
but the 148 billion would then be your 0, 1 plus 2, is it?
Yeah. Whichever is overdue.
Of the moratorium loans.
Right.
And you are expecting around 35 to 40% of your total domestic book to be under moratorium.
So this is what people have opted and we have given.
Oh, you are. Okay. And so how do you view your tier 2 now? Your 81 bonds have been written off. What's your view on tier 2? Anyway, just now it's capped at 2%, but...
But actually we are having 4.8%, okay? Only because we were not able to meet the CET, so we could account for only 2%.
Okay, but the tier 2 stays as it is. And once the tier 1 expands, okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Got it, sir. Okay, sir. Thanks. Sir, and one more thing, how much did you borrow from RBI? I think you mentioned that in the...
So let it be remain within RBI and us.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kabir Gulati from HL Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, just wanted to understand. Yeah, if this quarter you would have recognized any interest income on the loan account that you would have recognized as NPAs. Maybe you have received it in cash this quarter.
The question was recognition of
interest on your GNPA book. Has there been any in this quarter?
So there has been actually a reversal of interest in this quarter because of the NPAs and NPRs.
Okay.
That we had in the quarter.
So that will be a net thing, but would there be any interest in cash that you're still receiving on this big NPA book that you have now?
No, so because you've not had cash recovery, that has not been part of the NII for the quarter.
Okay, that's it from mine. Thanks.
Mr. Vikas Rongta, your line is in the talk mode. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir. Good afternoon. Just wanted to understand that you have reported earlier that there was covenant breach in foreign loans. So what is the status of those foreign loans, sir, as of now?
So you must have seen it has come down. So earlier, if you see this overseas borrowing, it was say 23,000 as on 31st December. Which has come down to 9,474 as on 31st March.
And we are repaying them or we are getting extension? What is the strategy of the management as of now?
So we would be happy to retain them, okay, but wherever there is any demand or any requirement, we immediately meet our commitment on the same day.
Okay. The other part, in one of your interview after the results, you have said that moratorium can be declared if 5.5% is a breach, right? That's a very strong statement. Though I know that the management is planning to raise capital, but getting into a moratorium again will definitely, let's say, shake the confidence of the depositors. So what is your view on?
No, I think I have not made this statement. What I have told that if we breach the CET below 5.5, then only there is a possibility of having a moratorium. But we have not breached 5.5. So, but the question which was asked of me, that what would be the implication when we are not meeting the CET requirement? So basically I have answered there could be only one thing. It could be only as per the current regulation, bank can be put under PC. Okay. But in our conversation with the RBI, we are not getting any such sense or any such indication.
So let's say
the question was whether there is a possibility of putting under moratorium. I said that would happen only if we breach below 5.5.
Right, sir, but there is not much gap left as of now.
Still there is a gap of 80 basis points.
Okay.
And 80 basis points converts into almost 2,000 crores.
Okay, sure, sir. Other thing I wanted to know, in terms of, your bank have been successfully able to raise CDs in the market. So what is the CD outstanding in the market as of 31st March or the latest number?
So it's 31st March is something around 7,000 crores.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. We move to the next question. That is on the line of Manish Shukla from Citigroup. Please go ahead.
Good evening and thank you for the opportunity. So first question on the capital side, do you have any comfort from SBI and other banks which participated that if there were to be a shortfall going forward that they will come back again?
So other banks are quite confident that we will be able to raise capital as per our requirement. And another thing is that our strategy is to broad base our investors. Okay, so I think we will be able to do that. But since State Bank of India and other 7 private sector banks, they have already put in their money. So I don't see any possibility that they would not support us.
Okay. Secondly, there are, besides capital, there are a few other points where you are in breach of regulatory norms. So is there any agreed milestones with RBI which you need to meet, in absence of which the regulator might take some action, regulatory action?
So I think there is only one breach, that is in terms of LCR. And
right.
RBI is well aware of it. Okay. And silence from RBI is more than a comfort to us.
But question really is that how long does that silence last?
So I think we need to read the silence. Okay, and regulator silence is always read in this way.
Fair point, sir. Last question. You said that at 74% coverage, your assessment is that this would kind of cover for LGD. Now, as we know in the past, a lot of the lending on the wholesale side has happened on asset-backed rather than cash flow-backed. And given the lockdown, all the economic assumptions that we were working with 2 months back have gone for a toss. Do you still believe that those LGD, you would be comfortable with that 74% kind of a coverage number?
No, I think in the worst case scenario, the 74 requirement may go up to 80. But it depends again on the individual cases. There are certain assets where we have made 74% provision, but recovery probability would be almost 40 to 45%. So it's a mix of pool. So in some places we would be able to recover more than what we have provided, and maybe in some of the assets we need to make some additional provision. But on the pool basis, I think it could be a variation of 2 to 3%, not more than that.
Sure. Sorry, one last question. While wholesale book has been contracting, at the same time, the RWA density of the balance sheet continues to go up, driven by the rating downgrades, which you are seeing. So, what can be done to arrest that? I mean, is asset sales an option, or is there anything else which you can work on to improve that?
So it would be a combination of asset sales and also originating those loans where the risk weights would be lower. Okay. So it would be this combined strategy, and it would gradually, we would be able to bring it down.
All right, sir. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nilanjan Karpa from IDFC. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Sorry, joined a little late. Have you given out the rating split of the loan book, sir?
So we don't give the ratings on the loan book. We are giving the position of SMA 1 and SMA 2.
Right. And, okay. Could you help me tie in this SMA 1 and 2, which is about 11,000 crore with the the standstill figure that we have given, which is I think 14,900 odd crore less 2713, which is the NPA.
So basically,
Nilanjan, hi. So this standstill you're talking about is actually all overdues as of 29th Feb, which will include SMA 0, 1 and 2. Whereas what gets reported as SMA 1 and 2 is as per the RBI credit database, where it is reported in SMA 1 and 2, and there is also a small difference in the number of days calculation, to be precise, which has resulted into, so for example, you see a 2,700 crore as a standstill NPA as of March 31st, but that actually was part of the SMA 1 as on 29th Feb. So what you will see is the standstill appearing in SMA 1 when they are reported in our presentation slide. But it's just a number of days reconciliation issue.
Maybe I'll take it offline with you. And sir, I barely heard a question on Tier 2. Did you mention anything about any potential write down in Tier 2 as well, or?
No.
Right. And
why we are considering 2%.
Okay. And the 81 continues to be there, and will be based on the court decision. Is that the broad understanding?
Absolutely.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is on the line of Bhavik Shah from BNK Securities. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, even after write-off, our 81 stands at 0.2%. So just wanted to understand what is it exactly.
So basically, these were the 81 bonds which were not like Basel III compliant. Okay, so they could not be written off.
Okay, so these are non-Basel compliant 81 bonds which are not written off.
Yeah.
And sir, our fee income, corporate fee income, I understand there was a change in accounting in fourth quarter 19, but in fourth quarter 20 we still have it negative. Why so?
So it was on account of a sell down fee that we had to pay for the loan.
Sell down fee that we have to pay for the loan.
So there was not gross booking of fees that we had in the corporate banking line, but there was sell down of loans that happened through that, which got netted against the corporate banking fees.
Okay. So that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the last question. I now hand the conference over to the management for the closing comments.
So thank you very much, and we are really appreciate the time taken by you and asking this clarification. But I think you must have seen like we have been very, very careful and tried to disclose almost everything through our presentation. And we would be very happy if there is still any question. You can always come offline, talk to our team. We would be very happy to respond to all your queries. And we would also like to have your suggestion if you can give in further improving our disclosures in our quarterly or annual balance sheet, which will really help us. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Yes Bank Limited, that concludes this conference call. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your line. Thank you.